So from the 5th sutra to 11th sutra, that is 11th is Shrutatvacha. Up to that it is Ikshatyadhikarana. That is 7 sutras, and they deal with one topic, namely the Karana. We said earlier in discussing before sutras that Brahman is the Karana for the creation. Kato va imani bhutani, we took up that for discussion. And now there are others who say, no, why don't you take this? Brahman is, you can't touch Brahman. Brahman is sarvavyapi and this and that. The Nayayikas will say our Paramanus are better. Upadana Karana, Nimitta Karana, two are there. Upadana Karana is the material cause. Material cause, Nayayika says, our Paramanus are there. What about Nimitta Karana? For that we have Ishvara Sankalpa, if you want. And similarly, Sankhyas, they say, Upadana Karana, Pradhana is there. How can you go anywhere else? And Nimitta Karana, it is not necessary for that. Upadana Karana, that is sufficient. Pradhana will do everything. That is what it has been doing. Nobody is necessary. So, like this, they mention, among this, Malla Pratimalla Nyaya. Sankhya's stand is always strong because they come very near us. Only they have two, Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is real for them. We say it is not real, Maya. So they say their statement, their philosophy is taken up for a discussion. All the 7 sutras, that is 5th to 11th. And the starting sutra here in this adhikarana is called Ikshatyadhikarana. Ikshatehe na asabdam. What the Sankhya says, we keep in mind, it is not expressed in the sutra. No, your view cannot hold. Why? Asabdam. It is not there in the Vedas. Vedas are not mentioned. Shabda means Vedas. And then what about your view? Ikshatehe, tada ikshata, bhahusyam prajayema. And like that it starts. Not one Upanishad, Taitiriya, Aitareya, and like that. Even in Chandogya, it comes. Ikshat means seeing. Ikshatehe is the dhatu form when we say like that. Ikshatehe, possessive case, genitive case. So when we say this, their arguments are like this. The Pradhana's argument is, you see, you require jnana for srishti, sarvajnatva, and that is easy. The whole of jnana is in Pradhana. How? We have tamoguna, rajoguna, sattva-guna. In sattva-guna, sattva sanjayate jnanam, Bhagavan himself says. And therefore we have so much of sattva-guna, we can produce any amount of jnana. And fatafat this srishti ho jata. Then why all this going to Brahman, finding the pramana for that in the shastras and all that. So this is their argument. Now my problem is whether to read this or this. This is too long. Many arguments are there. And for every sutra we can't afford to spend so much time. So, ikshatehe na asabdam. That is, on account of thinking, ikshat means the explanation is there. Seeing, thinking, and concentrating, like that. For the Lord, if He wants to create, simply sankalpa will do. Everything will follow. He need not take the trouble like us. Ramayana, repeatedly Valmiki says, aklishta karma. Rama is aklishta karma. Anything that he takes up, 14,000 Simply fatafat he will finish. And nobody can claim that title. So Ishvara Sankalpa, just that is called Ikshana. And then Srishti will go on for itself. So the argument, knowledge must be an attribute. He must be a Sarvajna to create this world. And that we have Sattva Guna. But what guarantee is there that Sattva, you see all the time Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna will be there. And nobody can say that Sattva Guna will be more and the others will be less. So what guarantee is there that Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna also will assert, and then your Sattva will be made useless. This is also possible. So like that we argue, and that is what he says. The Vedanta texts about creation do not refer to Brahman but to the unintelligent Pradhana, made up of three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, as the first cause. The Pradhana is omnipotent, that is, for any material cause, only Pradhana. All the matter that we see in this world is created from Pradhana only. The Pradhana is omnipotent with respect to its effects. Again, the Pradhana has Sattva for one of its components, of which, according to Smriti, knowledge is an attribute. Therefore, knowledge is an attribute means Sattva sanjayate jnanam. Increase Sattva and you get jnana. It becomes an attribute. Therefore, Pradhana can figuratively be said to be omniscient. That is, imagine, then it is omnipotent and all matter is there. Then you can as well say it is omniscient, figuratively, because everything is there. Because of its capacity for all knowledge. To Brahman, on the other hand, you see, it is ultimately it is the three gunas that matter. Till the last stage, when you realize Brahman, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. So ultimately the bridge is that Sattva Guna. That Sattva Guna somehow, if you can increase Sattva, so it is made into two, that Vivek Chodamani commentary. There Vishuddha Sattva, that is the attribute of Ishvara himself. With the help of that, he has the Sarvajnatva and he knows whatever in the world. And another is Malina Sattva or Mishra Sattva. And that is, even the greatest of us have that, except Ishvara. That is, by discipline and by exercise, we see that Sattva component is more in the mind. Normally, Buddhi has that, more in the mind. Therefore, it helps me to think of Brahman. Thinking process is in the realm of Maya. Being process only is beyond Maya. So thinking, if it is imbued with Sattva, then you are almost on the border. Just a little, that's all. So therefore the Pradhana can figuratively be said to be omniscient because of its capacity for all knowledge. To Brahman, capacity only. See, knowledge requires two things. Capacity, namely the buddhi, that is the capacity. And it should become very near Atman. See, here, Pratyeka Atman is very near buddhi. That is why it is said realization happens in buddhi guha, deep in buddhi guha. Buddhi has the capacity, that is, it reflects the light that it receives. And that is sufficient for us to realize Brahman. So, but Atman, it should come very near Atman, not in the world. World, it doesn't have that much of capacity to increase its sattva. So, intelligent, to Brahman on the other hand, which is isolated and pure intelligence itself, you cannot ascribe all knowingness or partial knowledge. Moreover, for this, he was almost tempted to read it, but it takes more time. That is, Jnana Kriya Shakti is necessary for Srishti. Jnana must be there, Kriya also must be there. So that your Brahman is only pure Jnana. Jnana Kriya Shakti, where will he get? To that our reply is, he can manufacture any Shakti with the help of Maya. So why are you bothered about that? So this Jnana, all-knowingness or partial knowledge, moreover, as the Pradhana has three components, it seems reasonable that it alone is capable of undergoing modifications like clay into various objects of name and form, and not Brahman, which is uncompounded, homogeneous and unchangeable. Brahman cannot be a suitable Srishtikarta because he is homogeneous, akhandaikarasam, and like clay, Pradhana can provide matter for any kind of creation, which is uncompounded. Moreover, the first cause is already existing entity, and so can be established by inference from its effects, and even the scriptures recommend inference of the cause from the effect. So, what the Vedanta texts about creation say with respect to the first cause holds good, and more aptly so in the case of the Pradhana, and therefore it is the first cause referred to by the scriptures. That is their argument, Sankhya's argument. They say you can use your Anumana. The scriptures, they themselves say. And therefore, all that is there in Pradhana. Therefore, Pradhana is the first cause. So, start inquiry. So, Ikshate Masattam. Now, these are refuted. These arguments are refuted, and we establish Brahman as the first cause. In the Sutra number 5, Ikshate Masattam, onwards to Sutra Shrutadvacha, in those 7 sutras. So the Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asit, in that what is mentioned, this universe was Sat only in the beginning. The message is addressed to Shvetaketu. That Prakarana speaks of Brahman only. Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, like that. And therefore, it thought, this Aitareya Upanishad, the Raikshata, like that, slight variations, the same thing comes in Aitareya. Aitareya works here well, therefore he has chosen Aitareya Upanishad. May I be many, the Atman willed, let me project the world. They projects the world. And the Chandogya, it is said, Jivena anupravishya nama rupe vyakara vani. I enter the Jiva and nama rupe vyakara vani. So create all names and forms. World is nothing but names and forms. Asti, Bhati, Priyam, Nama, Rupam. These 5, Vidyaranya Swami. And these 5 are the Asti, Bhati, Priyam, characteristics of Brahman. Nama, Rupam, characteristics of the world. But world requires those 3 also for existence. So world's characteristics are Asti, Bhati, Priyam, Nama, Rupam. If of these Nama, Rupam, if you reject as Maya, what remains is Asti, Bhati, Priyam, Brahman. That's all. Only Nama, Rupa is the difference between Brahman and the world. And that is sufficient to create havoc. So they projected these words. Such thinking or willing is not possible to the insentient Pradhana. They say, if material is there, that is sufficient. What about the intelligence? That they don't talk. They say that it is habit, that milking the cow. If it sees the calf, it gives. You don't have sufficient intelligence for that. And moreover, Atma Shabda, where it is used in various ways. and it is used with respect to the inert objects also. So do not think that Atman, wherever it is used in your sense only, in the Vedas it is. Therefore, what is your objection for Pradhana being the first cause of this universe? Such thinking or willing is not possible to the insentient Pradhana. It is possible only if the first cause is an intelligent principle like Brahman. The all-knowingness attributed to Pradhana because of its Sattva component is inadmissible, as Sattva is not predominant in the Pradhana, since all the three gunas are in a state of equilibrium. If in spite of this, you see, Srishti means Pradhana to become the first creator, first cause, it should be before Srishti. Before Srishti, that is why the word Pradhana is used. After Srishti, Guna Vaishamya is introduced, then Prakriti. Before Srishti, Guna Samya is there. That is why no action. Action is caused by Guna Vaishamya. Guna Samya, how is it turned into Guna Vaishamya? If you want to say Ishvara Sankalpa. Or it is going on like this. So intelligent principle is necessary for them, they don't say. Purushas are there. And there are so many Purushas. Not one Purusha guiding the Prakriti. And Purusha is there only to enjoy, not to do anything. He is Akarta according to Sankhyas. Purushas are Akartas, only Bhoktas. Therefore, here we can't bring in the idea of Atman and then Brahman and all that. Brahman they accept, that is all right. But if it comes as the first cause, then Pradhana. So Pradhana, in the state of Pradhana, the three gunas are in equilibrium. Therefore, how do you say that Sattva-guna is more, and therefore more of Jnana? There in the Bhagavata, which follows the Sankhya philosophy more or less, even though it is beautiful harmony of Jnana and Bhakti, the philosophy is Sankhya philosophy more or less, Kapila Devahuti, Samvada and all that. Therefore there, what happens is, all the jivas are in a minute form in the body of Srihari. Srihari is eternal. All the jiva, everything enters there. And then when they will come out, he will do the sankalpa. And that sankalpa, on what does it depend? On the effect of all the jivas, prarabdha karma, fructification of the prarabdha of all the jivas. Lowest common multiple, LCM, you must take, not HCM. So all the jivas, their prarabdha put together must fructify at one time. So wait until then. Then he says, according prompted by the Ishvara is Akarta. Then how did he create the 60? Prompted by their own prarabdha. It has to be exhausted, worked out. So, that is why Swamiji said it's like a gymnasium. We enter there, we do kasrat, maybe we get hurt, but that we can't help. So the producing knowledge, then the other two gunas must be equally capable of retarding knowledge. So you say that Pradhana can develop knowledge, but other two gunas are there. They are anti-knowledge. They may retard the knowledge. Rajas and Tamas will make it partly knowing, which is a contradiction. Therefore that argument doesn't hold. The all-knowingness and creation are not possible to Brahman, which is pure intelligence itself and unchangeable, is also not true. For Brahman can be all-knowing and creative through Maya. So Brahman, the Sat of the text quoted, Sadeva Saumya Idamagrase, Brahman alone existed before this creation. Sat means Brahman. And that Sat is pure intelligence. You don't get all the necessary power to create. So don't worry, his Maya can take care of that. The problem for us is Brahman is immaterial, without any matter, and is pure intelligence. And what we require for creation is matter. How do we get that? And Brahman cannot lend any matter. He himself is pure spirit. And if we take matter from Brahman, it can be exhausted. We don't accept Parinamavada. We accept only Vivartavada, as if all these things are there. For as if all these things are there, no expenditure. Illusion, you create. Maya is there. That will create. So the jivas prarabdha karma, and they are entering the ultimate cause, and again they are coming out, and then working out their cause. All these things are as if. So Vivartavada. And for this, again, Brahman alone must be the sole cause. There are some who say that Brahman nimitta, let it be nimitta cause, nimitta karana. And for this pradhana will be the material cause. Why don't you accept? We cannot. Because it goes against Shruti. Therefore we don't. And therefore the Brahman is the sole cause. Animitta upadana karanam Brahma. That is, nimitta and upadana karana is Brahman only. That is, nimitta karana is all right because it is intelligent principle. How can it be upadana karana? We say upadana karana through Maya. Maya is his power. Whenever you mention any Shakti, what we mean? Power. And that power, even if it is in the form of Ichha Shakti, it is power only. Just once he mentions Ichha. Power is there. When power is not there, when you realize Brahman in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Maya also is not there. Sri Ramakrishna's words. But other than Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we talk about this world and other things, not in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Other than Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Brahman is there, Maya is there. And Maya doesn't affect Brahman, as the poison doesn't affect serpent, but it creates all these illusions beautifully. And that is sufficient. Therefore, the nimitta karana we can understand, upadana karana also can be Brahman. No, through Maya. Through Maya he is the upadana karana. By itself it is the nimitta karana, and that is abheda nimittopadana karanam Brahma. That is, there need not be this difference between the two. The Sankhyas again try to avoid the difficulty created by thinking being attributed to the first cause. In the same text quoted above, it is said further on, the fire thought may be meaning. They say intelligent principle, you say, is necessary. Because jivena anupravishya, that intelligence comes down as jiva. Anupravishya namarupe, vyakaravani, all these namarupas are. That is, it is the Atman of the jiva. And therefore, intelligent principle. For Atman is, the word Atman is used even where it is not intelligent principle. So our pradhana is there. Why can't you take it? That is their idea. That quotation, it is translated into English. However much I mark, but exact quotation was there. That is, where they say, fire is Atman, that is the quotation he has given. That is, that fire thought, may I be many, may I grow. Chandogya Upanishad, when they say that may I be many, Brahman said. Proceeding, it says, fire said, may I be many. Water said, may I be many. Fire and water are unintelligent principles. Therefore, Atma Shabda is used there also. You can as well use Atma Shabda for Pradhana and be satisfied. That is there. That exact quotation is there, I have marked that. Here we fire and water are material things, and yet thinking is attributed to them. Atma is attributed to them. In the Chandogya Upanishad, wherever these sentences come, you should know how to interpret. This is obstinacy on the part of Pradhana. Wherever Atman comes, it means it can mean anything, intelligent, unintelligent. Atman is not used like that. Sometimes in literature they use it is the Atma of this. That means it is the core essence of this in that sense. So in the text originally quoted can also be taken figuratively, in which case Pradhana, though insentient, can yet be the first cause. So this is more or less, in a brief way, the position stated by the sutra. Ikshate. There it is, the word is ikshate, sankalpa, intelligence is involved. This is used in the Vedas. You can't ignore that. About Pradhana they have not used anywhere, and therefore your Pradhana being the first cause cannot be accepted. Brahman is the first cause. Then he won't keep quiet. He will raise another objection. Gaunaschet na atma shabda. That is, it can be accepted as gauna. Mukhya we describe secondary importance, gauna. So this, what you say Brahman is the first cause, etc., can be accepted as gauna, not important, second. No. The word Atman is used in this Shruti. We can't ignore that. Therefore, you can't attribute secondary importance to this Brahman being the cause of the world. Gaunaha, secondary. Chet, it would be said, na, Atma Shabda, because of the word self. If it is said that thinking is used in a secondary sense with regard to Sat, that is, the Sadeva Saumya Idamagrasi, in the same line, it is with reference to water, with reference to Agni. These three are tangible bhutas. Akasha and Vayu are not tangible of the five bhutas. Prithvi, Up and Agni, tangible. They have this form and something tangible. Therefore, and there also this word Atman is used, thinking is used, intelligent principle is used. Therefore, fire, water and Prithvi, they cannot be classified as intelligent principles. No. Atma Shabda, the word cell, which the first cause is referred to in the scripture, is used. The Sat of the text cited in the previous sutra, after creating fire, water, etc., thought, let me now enter into these three as this living self and evolve names and forms. That is, Saraikshatava Husyam Prajayayema and Srishtishtha. And then it said, as Jiva, let me enter into this Prithvi, apparently inert Prithvi and fire and water. Jive Nanupravishya Namarupe Vyakaravani. You see, all that discussion that goes for that statement, it cannot be put here. That is the problem. You will have to accept it as it is. In the previous sutra, after creating fire, water, etc., thought, let me now enter into these three as this living self Jiva and evolve names and forms. That is how Jiva was evolved. Jivena anupraveshadhikarana. Why the Jivas are sentient, intelligent and all that? Because now the Lord has entered from here. It is called Brahmatantra. In children this is very soft. Has entered through this. This description is given in Taittiriya Upanishad. What is exactly where Lord is not there? What is entering? Oh, that is a long discussion. The Bhashya itself runs into several pages. What is meant by entering? The effect is this. The Lord enters through this and remains in the buddhi guha. And that is why jiva is so intelligent and does everything at all. Jiva pranadharane, that is the definition of jiva. Panini says jiva means one who holds the vital layers, pranadharane. By entering like this, and being the intelligent principle here, enables jiva to hold the vital layers and then all transactions. That is how it is described in the Taittiriya. Therefore, since that is said, as the jiva he enters and all that, intelligent principle must be there. How can pradhana take this up? Living self jiva and evolve means the sat, the first cause, refers to the intelligent principle. The jiva as its self. The insentient pradhana cannot refer to an intelligent principle like the jiva as itself or as its own nature. Therefore, Atma Shabda is not used in a sense which always means intelligent principle, because it refers to Brahman originally. Jan jivena anupravisya. And where it is mentioned, it is gauna. That is this water and fire and all that. The insentient pradhana cannot refer to an intelligent principle. Sankhyas again try to ward off this objection by saying that the word self is equally used to refer to intelligent and unintelligent things, as for example in expressions like bhutatma, etc. That is, in the word bhutatma, what do you mean? The innermost essence of bhuta, bhutatma, a being. It doesn't necessarily mean intelligent principle. Bhutatma, that is the atman of the particular bhuta or the being you are referring. So there it is not used essentially as intelligent principle. Pradhana argues. Then he said, when we objected pradhana is jada, ashabdam, therefore it is not used in the Vedas, the Upanishads or the scriptures, therefore we cannot accept. Then he said, jivera anupravisya, and there even water etc., no water etc., it is the intelligent principle and therefore it is not jada. And then he gives the example, sometimes you refer to as bhutatma and all that. There it is not intelligent principle. There it is jada only. So why not accept pradhana as the first? Then tannishthasya mokshopadesha. That is reply to this argument. What is the argument? Atman, bhutatma, there Atma Shabda is not used as intelligent principle. So like that you may use pradhana, let Atma be there. It is not necessarily intelligent principle. That is the argument. Now he says, that is, we reply, tannishthasya mokshopadesha. That is, in the discussion, in the scriptures, where this occurs, in that prakarana, mokshopadesha is there, Shvetaketu. Mokshopadesha is there. Mokshopadesha is made to inert beings. Because moksha drishyate tvagriya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshini. First you must prepare your buddhi to be very sharp for getting moksha. And therefore, the moksha is possible because you have buddhi as a good instrument to use. And then buddhi reflects the knowledge of Atman, the light of Atman. And through that we can reach Atman. Otherwise, if that is not, buddhi itself may be inert, but reflected light is light. Mirror may not be light, but it reflects light. Buddhi may be inert, it reflects the knowledge of Atman. And therefore we have come very near Atman if we hold on to buddhi. Drishyate tvagriya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshini. Therefore, in this prakarana, Shvetaketu is being. Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, that is moksha. Tattvamasi Shvetaketo, you are that intelligent principle, you are not this body, you are not this, you are not that. Mokshopadesha. Moksha is not instructed to a stone, to an intelligent principle only. Tannishthasya tat mokshopadesha. Tannishthasya, to one who is devoted to that. Devoted to which? Tannishthasya. Tat means what? Brahman. Where nothing is mentioned, simply tat, sat, om tat sat iti nirdesho, brahmanas trividha smritaha. And therefore, tannishthasya, to one who is devoted to that sat, mokshopadesha, because liberation is declared. Moksha is declared. That pradhana cannot be designated by the word self is established here. This is not the self of the inert being, this is the self-intelligent principle. Because liberation is declared to one who is devoted to that sat. If you are sannishtaha, that is, you are devoted to sat, liberation is guaranteed. Sat. All your buddhi is concentrated on sat. And what else is liberation? Is declared to be one who is devoted to that sat, the first cause. The 6th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad ends by instructing Shvetaketu thus. Thou art that. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. As intelligent being such as Shvetaketu cannot be identified with the insentient pradhana, moreover, in section 14, paragraph 2, 3, whatever it is, of this chapter, liberation is said to result to one who is devoted to this sat, and it cannot result from meditation on the insentient pradhana. For these reasons given in the previous sutra and in this, the sat, the first cause, does not refer to the pradhana but to an intelligent principle. Therefore, the Brahman alone can be the first cause of this universe. Heyatva avachanacha. Then there is another thing. Heyatva, the fitness to be abandoned, not being stated by the scriptures. Cha. Avachanacha, not stated in the scriptures. What is not stated? Heyatva. What is heyatva? You give up this. That is, you become tannishtha. Nowhere it is said, give up that. Then only it paves the way for mukti. Nowhere it is said, give up. Heyatva avachanacha. And because it is not stated by the scriptures that it has to be abandoned, you see, the whole universe, the scriptures say, nepi, nepi, give up, give up. Like that. Does it say sat also nepi? Earlier, Shakaracharya has pointed out, nobody can reject himself. Nanaham asmiti. Nobody will say that. I am not Atman, nobody says. Only they say, I am the body, body is Atman. That's all the mistake they commit. Nobody says, I am no Atman. Atman cannot be rejected. Nowhere scriptures have rejected Atman. How can they reject? If I reject, I myself become an Atman. Therefore, everything in the universe is rejected ultimately for the sake of that Sat. But Sat, how can you reject? You are that. Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. So, and because it is not stated by the scriptures that it Sat has to be abandoned, pradhana cannot be denoted by the word Sat. So, pradhana, the Sankhyas say that Sat, whatever it is, our pradhana is that Sat. That's all. You take it like that, everything will be all right. How can we call your pradhana as Sat? Your pradhana being unintelligent has to be rejected. Matter has to be rejected. Then we enter the realm of spirit. And Sat is never rejected. So how can we call your pradhana as Sat? if the intention of the scriptures had been to take this aspirant step by step from grosser to subtler truths, till finally the real nature of the Atman was presented to him. And for this purpose they had referred to the Pradhana, denoted by the word Sat, according to the Sankhyas. It is, you see, to start the inquiry. We have to start from the beginning. Begin from the beginning, Sw.Amrithananda used to say. So we have to start from the beginning. Beginning, you don't have any idea of Sat. So whatever it is there, it is Sat, existing. What is pure existence, we don't have any idea. This is Sat. And gradually they develop in Viveka Chodamani. How we give up. Adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchate. Adhyaropa is superimposition. Apavada is taking it out. Nishprapancham prapanchate. Prapancha is not there, that is Brahman. Brahman becomes prapancha by this method. Otherwise, how to understand that this is Brahman? Adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapancha. First you cover it, that is not in your hands, Maya has already covered. Now you are taking to remove it and you don't know the process, that's all. The struggle. But otherwise, you cover it, you remove it. Maya fools whom? You only. It can't fool Brahman. Adhyaropa apavadabhyam. So giving up is always there. But to start with, we can't start with a clean slate. What we have here, we have to examine, say that it is Jada, it is not useful for your realization of Brahman, therefore give up. You call it Sat, Brahman is everything, this is also Sat, alright, but unless you give it up, how can you rise higher? Therefore give up, then we say. But Sat itself is to be given up, we don't say. What we had imagined to be Sat existence, that imagination should go in favor of something higher. Sri Ramakrishna does not say. Climbing step by step. You climb the first step. Why did you climb? What was wrong if you had stood on the ground? No, that is nothing, sir. There is something there. So I must climb. That is, I must reject the ground and come to the first step. And again, you don't stop with that, you go to the second step. Why? You wanted to come on the first step, it is all right. Again, why say, no sir, here I have to. Therefore, this is also not that. Give up. So, one by one you give up, and then only you can climb. After going there, then you say, it is all surki. It is all, then cement was not there. The roof and the stairs, everything are made of surki. Then where was the necessity for me to come? But that knowledge will come to you, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, only when you climb to the stair, the roof, not otherwise. Therefore, while climbing, it is one by one, not this, not this, not this. But after reaching the Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, then he becomes a Vijnani. When he realizes that everything that is there, then he becomes a Vijnani. Then only he becomes Heyopadeya Varjita, Aheyopadeya. Nothing to give up, nothing to accept. Everything is. That is the idea. But your Pradhana cannot claim to that status. The intention of the scriptures had been to take the aspirant step by step from grosser to subtler truths till finally the real nature of the Atman was presented to him, and for this purpose they had referred to the Pradhana denoted by the word Sat according to the Sankhya's. You see, Sat means existence. We say Ghatassan, Patassan, Ghata is Sat, Pata is Sat. Do we mean absolute in this absolute sense? In the absolute sense, there is no Ghata. Where is the question of Ghata being Sat? Absolute sense, where is Ghata? Nama Rupa. So the Sankhyas, denoted by the word Sat according to the Sankhyas, as the self, then there would have been later on a statement to the effect that this Pradhana must be dropped, for it was not the real self. But there is no such statement in the text in question. On the contrary, the whole chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, in which the text occurs, Sadeva Soumya Idamagrasit and all that, deals with the self as nothing but that Sat. Moreover, this chapter begins with the question, what is that which by knowing known, everything is known? Kasminnu bhagave vijñātah vijñātum sarvam kasminnu bhagave vijñāte bhagavaha vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam. By knowing which, sir, that is the question in which that prakarana opens in the Chandogya. The student comes, kasminnu bhagavaha vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. By knowing which, sir, all this becomes known. Very simple. Telling him that all these things come. Now if the pradhana were the first cause, then by knowing it, everything would be known, which is not a fact. By knowing pradhana, you don't know anything. You are establishing that. What is there in pradhana simply matter. The very process of knowing involves intelligence. Not being a product of the pradhana, like the objects of enjoyment, cannot be known by knowing the pradhana. Therefore, that is, by knowing one's aspect of pradhana, you can't know all pradhana. Why? It is not homogeneous. You say nature is homogeneous, therefore scientists are helped and all that. That is true. But ultimately, scientists never say that there is only one principle. They can't. What they see is at least some 3, 4, 5 like that, and never one. There is absolute akhandaika rasam only in this spirit. Therefore, pradhana you can't, knowing that everything becomes known, it can't. Therefore, the entire pradhana is nothing but properties of matter as they exist. And scientists study that and become great. And there are no properties for spirit. Therefore, they don't study it. And people who study it, they are not great. That is the reason. Therefore, the pradhana is not the first cause. Knowing which everything is known, according to the scripture, such a view will contradict the premise. Premise means fundamental thing with which you start. And then he gives an illustration. When you are having good sleep, illustration. That is the next sutra. See, if one is accustomed to go through this ritual, then fatafat he will say this is this. If we are casual workers, whenever some work is provided, we come. So we can't remember everything. That is the problem.